Hi everyone! So today I'm going to do a little tutorial on making granny squares, which means I am donning my granny square tee, which is from Fibre Lounge, and I'm going to show you two methods to make a traditional granny square. Now the first one, you're going to use two different colours of yarn and you can change each round, and what I'm going to show you is how to flip it so that it's also reversible once all the ends are woven in, obviously. Now I don't do my granny squares with any chains between the clusters. Now the reason for that is because I find that it gets a bit gappy if the clusters are too far apart with the chain spaces in between them. So I don't do any chain spaces. Let me show you. So here is an example of a granny square. This is where some people put chain spaces between the clusters, but I only put chain spaces in the corners because it just gives it a bit more room so you can get more trebles in there. So this one is reversible and I've used two different colours. This is the one from the tutorial itself, so it's a bit bigger. I've used Aran yarn for this tutorial, but you can use any yarn whatsoever. This one is DK and this one is Aran, so it gives you an idea of size. And obviously depending on what you actually want to make with them will depend on what thickness of yarn and how many you're going to need overall. So do bear that in mind, because obviously if you're using 4-ply it's going to take a lot longer and you're going to need a lot more squares to make your finished project. So do keep that in mind in terms of thickness. This is an example of one with chain spaces. So there are chains between each of these clusters and you can see that it is a bit more holy. This one does not have the chain spaces between the clusters, so you can see the difference, particularly in that outside edge, as to which one is a bit more dense. Now I don't like this one because I can get my fingers, I can get my thumb into the spaces, whereas I can't really do that in the one without the chain spaces. So I'm going to show you how to complete a reversible traditional granny square, changing colours every round, and I'm going to show you how to do a traditional granny square that is all one colour. Now this is unravelled because I didn't fasten it off, but again it's reversible, so you turn each round, and it's just to give you an idea of how it can also be done in one colour. So these are the two you're going to see on the tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you make your own. Have fun! So to start, you're going to need some yarn. I am using some Starcraft Special Aran in watermelon. I've also got Starcraft Special Aran in white, just because it's a bit thicker yarn and you'll be able to see my stitches a bit easier. My samples have all been done on DK. So I'm going to start with the watermelon first, and you're going to need a hook. So I've got a couple of examples here. This one is a Knit Pro 4mm. Now this is perfect for DK yarn, but might be a bit too small to work with the Aran. This one is also 4mm, but again it's slightly different. So this one is more of a flat handle, whereas this one is rounded. These ones are from Crochet Society, from the subscription boxes, but they're made with polymer clay and they're quite chunky, so they're nice to grip hold of. So I've also picked up a 4mm if I switch to DK, and I've picked up a 5mm, and this is the one I'm going to use for the Aran yarn. So the first thing I'm going to do is take your yarn, make a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 4. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and one more, yarn over and pull through. So I have 4 chain. We're then going to go into the very first chain we did, which is over here. Insert your hook yarn over, pull that through, and then pull that loop through the one on your hook as well. So you're making a circle. So that is the middle of our circle. Now all of your stitches to start off with are going to go into that circle. So we're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and then we're going to do trebles. So we're going to do 2 trebles, 2 chain, and then 3 trebles, 2 chain, and repeat round until we get our first square set up. So yarn over, insert your hook into the middle of that circle you made, yarn over and pull through. So we've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 treble. Now our initial starting chain here counts as 1 treble in this instance. So we're going to do 1 more treble, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first cluster. We're then going to do 2 chain, so yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And we're going to do a cluster of 3 trebles. So yarn over, create 1, 2, and 3. So we have 2 clusters and we have a chain space here, which is our first corner. So we're going to do another 2 chain, 1, 2, and create 3 more trebles to make our next cluster. So now we have 2 corners at the bottom. Okay, we're going to create 2 more corners, so 2 chain, 3 treble, 2 chain, and then we're going to slip stitch to the top of our starting 3 chain at the beginning. So lastly 2 chain, and slip stitch. So we're going to insert into the 3rd chain to the top, wrap our hook and pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through. And that's the start of our traditional granny square. So we're going to fasten off that yarn, so make our loop much bigger, bring your project through that loop and pull until that's sealed. Tidy up a little bit just by moving it around. So we've got our 4 corners. So I'm going to chop this off and move on to our next colour. Alright, we're now going to change colour. So I've taken out my white yarn, and rather than slip into a corner with my new yarn, I actually like doing a standing treble. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. But first we need to flip over our square. So we're on the reverse side. Now the idea behind this is that it keeps our piece nice and square, because crochet stitches actually lean to one side. They lean on an angle going this way, or the opposite way if you're left-handed. And if you were to continue just going round and round and round, your work tends to try and twist, kind of like a pinwheel. So by flipping every round and going back on yourself, it keeps it nice and square. And it means it's also reversible, obviously once all the ends are woven in. So I've flipped over my square. Now as I said, you could slip stitch, so you could put your hook into a corner space, wrap your yarn and pull that up, and then wrap both ends over, pull them through to secure, and then obviously do 3 chain to start up. However, I like doing a standing treble just because I find it a little bit neater, and it means that all my ends are in the same place at the end when I finish a round. So I've just made a slip knot and put that on my hook, and then going to wrap my hook and hold on to the 2 loops that are now on my hook. Now you need to be careful because this can twist, so you need to make sure you are either holding on to those loops or keeping track of the smaller tail so it does not keep spinning off your hook. Then you can insert. Now you can see that I switch hands, so my thumb now has hold of those 2 loops. Wrap your hook and pull up a third. So I've now got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap, pull through the first 2, same as a normal treble, and then wrap and pull through the second 2. And that creates a standing treble. So it's already the right height for my stitch. Now I'm not going to complete a full corner first. I am going to simply do 2 more trebles into this space and then move on to the next corner. So 1 treble, 2 treble. So I have 3. And this will become my corner. However, I like to end on my 2 chains so I can then slip stitch to that point, and it means that my ends are actually going to be hidden by the corner later. As we can see from this one, I've joined with 2 chain and to the top of my chain, and my end is here. So I'm actually going to now cover that up because I'm going to be working into that corner. So I'm going to wrap and go straight into that corner space and complete 3 treble. So now I have 3 treble in each of my corner spaces. I'm now going to do 2 chain to create that corner again, and then do 3 more treble into the same space. One, 2, 3. So that has created that corner. Now I'm going to do exactly the same process of this in each of the other 2 corners. So I'm going to do 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles, straight into the corner space. 1, 2, and 3, 2 chain, and 3 more treble. So we have 2 corners. 1 more to go. Okay, so we have 3 corners. Now to complete the last one. So what I'm going to do is simply do 3 trebles into that same space that where I first started, complete 2 chain and then slip stitch to the top of my standing treble. So find the slip knot, so that's this little bit, and I'm going to go over the top to complete the slip stitch. And that is 2 rounds of a traditional granny. So we're going to tie off this yarn. And we can see our ends are in the corner again. So we're going to flip our square. We can then tidy up the yarn at the back. I'm going to move to the next corner just so that all my ends aren't all in the same place. You can see earlier my watermelon was in this corner. and I started in this one instead. So I'm going to move around again and start in this one, and I'm going back to my watermelon colour. So again, I'm going to start with a standing treble, make a slip knot, put it onto your hook, and then wrap your hook once. So you've got 2 loops on your hook. Insert it into the corner space, wrap once more, so you've got 3 loops, wrap and pull through 2, wrap and pull through 2. So again, exactly the same process as before. 2 more trebles into this space, and we can complete that corner when we come back on ourselves. So this time we actually have spaces between our clusters. We can't go straight into the corner this time because we have this space here. So we're going to do 3 trebles into that space. You're not going into the stitch, you're going into the space, okay? So you're not having to pick anything up, and you're going to do 3 trebles. So wrap, insert into that space, and create a treble, like so, and then complete 2 more. So you're going to have 3 in the same space. Okay, then we're going to go into our corner. That is our next space. That is, so each of your corners is a 2 chain space. Each of your other spaces is simply the gap between your clusters. So we're going to complete our corner again, so 3 trebles, 2 chain, and 3 trebles. And we're going to complete that all the way around. So find your next space between clusters, which is here. Free treble. And then you're making another corner as well. So again, we've got our corner, 3 trebles in the space between clusters, and another corner. And we're going to repeat until we get back to the beginning again. Back to the corner space that we started with. I'm going to do 3 trebles. Two chain, and slip stitch to my slip knot that I started with at the top of the standard treble. And that is our 3 round traditional granny square with no chain spaces between clusters unless you are going into a corner space. Now what I do recommend is if you are having trouble finding your corners, you can put stitch markers in each of them, and then every time you go up around, just move your stitch markers out along with you, and that will make it a lot easier to find them. So you can see where you've got to do your 2 chain and your 6 treble instead of 3. So we're going to end this one. Now the idea is that you can keep going, make it bigger and bigger, changing colours each round until you get to the desired size. Now obviously some of these ones I've just got 5 or 4, this one's got 4, this one has 5, and the smaller ones have 3. So this is the difference in Aran yarn on the right, DK yarn on the left. So depending on what size you want your finished piece to be will depend on which yarn you want to use, and the overall size and how many squares you're going to need. So I'm now going to show you how to do one all in one colour, and I'm going to do it again in the watermelon because that's easier to see on my white background. And yeah, let's have a go. So again, start with a slip knot and 4 chain. I'm going to join that together with a slip stitch into the first chain, again making myself a circle. Now the start is exactly the same, so I'm going to do 3 chain and 2 trebles into that central circle. We're then going to do 2 chain and create our 3 more sets of clusters. So I'm going to do 3 treble, 2 chain, 3 treble, 2 chain, 3 treble, 2 chain, and then slip stitch to the top of my 3 chain that I started with. So our start is exactly the same. I've got 4 sets of 3 treble clusters and 4 2 chain spaces. So as before, I'm still going to turn my work, but what I want to do first is do 3 chain. 1, 2, 3. So I'm not fastening off this colour. Then I'm going to flip over my square. I'm going to do 2 more trebles into that space. So into the corner space that I ended at, like so. And then I'm going to do 2 chain and 3 more trebles into the same space. 1, 2, 1 treble, 2 treble, and 3 treble. Now the rest of the process is exactly the same. Still going to do 3, 2, 3 into each corner, and then we're going to slip stitch to the top of our 3 chain here before we move on. So work your corner spaces all the way around until you're back to the beginning. So now we're back to the beginning. We're going to slip stitch to the top of our 3 chain. But I don't want to step up in the middle of my round, or in the middle of my side. So I'm going to do slip stitches into each of these 2 stitches, and then a slip stitch into that chain space to get back to my corner. So 1, 2, and 3. Now again, I'm going to do chain 3 and turn my work. So I'm going back the other direction. So even though I'm on this side, I can still put 2 trebles into the same chain space. I'm just not creating a corner at this point because it would all be quite bunched up, so I can always finish that when I come around when I finish. So 3 trebles in total, because your free chain counts as your first treble. Then you're going to find the next space available between clusters. So 3 trebles into your space between clusters, and then you're going to go back to the corner again, completing 3 trebles, 2 chain and 3 trebles, and you're going to repeat this all the way around. So once you've made it back to the beginning, you're going to complete 3 treble into that same chain space that you started in, complete 2 chain, and then you're going to slip stitch to the top of the 3 chain that you started the round with. Once you've completed that slip stitch, that round is now complete, so that's round 3. To continue upwards, you're going to complete 3 chain, turn your work, and again you can see you're on the right hand side of that corner space now, so we can then complete 2 treble, 2 chain, 3 treble, and go all the way around like we did with the row before. So once you've gone all the way around, you can see I've got all 4 corners. I'm back to join onto the 3 chain that I originally started with on this round. So I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that 3 chain. And then if you want to continue growing bigger, again, you're going to slip stitch into each of those trebles and back into the corner chain space. And then you can repeat each of those 2 rounds to get as large as you want your granny square to be, which is perfect for rainbow cakes and making baby blankets. And that is how you create a granny square, traditional granny square, with just one colour. I hope you've enjoyed these little tutorials, and I look forward to seeing your granny squares in the future.